Hello. Today I would like to introduce the book Traction: How Any Startup Can Achieve Explosive Customer Growth by Gabriel Weinberg and Justin Mayers. The key takeaway from this book is that most startups don't fail because they fail to deliver a meaningful product. They fail because they simply can't get enough customers. In other words, they fail to distribute their product effectively to as many people as possible with the little resources that they have. Many believe a great product is all they need and that customers will automatically be the path to their door should a great product be provided. Nothing could be further from the truth, and founders at the start need to generate demand artificially or organically to get off the ground. In other words, they need to get traction. So what is traction? The book defines traction as the quantitative evidence that your company is growing rapidly due to customer demand for your product or service. Readers might be familiar with the law of inertia. Things at rest tend to stay at rest. Things in motion tend to stay in motion. In other words, a running train is very difficult to stop. However, a train at rest all takes a simple wheel lock that you and I can just simply put on the tracks, and the train will never be able to get off the ground. Startups work the same way. A startup at the beginning is like a train at rest. All it takes is the smallest obstacle and they will fail to gain traction. However, once a product starts gaining traction, then the startup is off the ground and it's gaining speed, building traction, and the startup founders can gain customers very easily. However, how does a company build traction? The book mentions 19 channels, including blogs, advertising, business development, search engine optimization, etc. However, what is necessary is not just finding the right channel, but using a systemic approach to finding the right channel. Every industry is different and every company is slightly different. Therefore, it stands to reason that the right channel differs by person to person, company to company, industry to industry. So, many startups fail to gain traction because they fall into the trap of choosing the wrong channel and devoting too many resources to that channel. For some startups, blogs might not be the best way to gain traction, but for others, search engine optimization might be crucial. But if these startups put all their resources into offline advertisements, then there's a higher chance that they will fail and they won't be able to survive long enough to gain meaningful traction. Therefore, it is crucial that startups allocate 50% of their resources into marketing, the other 50% to product. This is especially high for tech-heavy companies that focus mainly on the product side. However, in order to spread their net far and wide and use as many different channels as possible, this kind of resource allocation is absolutely necessary. The startup's life depends on finding the right channel in a short amount of time, as quickly as possible. So most startups, when skimp out on marketing, focus on standing on making the products as shiny as possible. However, marketing efforts are never a waste, even for the product side. This is because a good traction building campaign generates insight into what the customers really find useful, which areas need improvement, and where the competitive edge lies. So the goal here is to find product market fit and a business revenue model that works. This is all part of the traction building effort. The book goes into fascinating detail about how many startups achieve this sort of traction. The point was that startups, from their concession, is thrown into essentially a war of attrition. For startups that have little resources, survival itself is a very tall feat. A startup without growth is a dead startup. Therefore, traction is absolutely necessary. And the main reason why startups fail to gain traction is because they simply don't survive long enough, that they give up too easily, give up too early. For example, DuckDuckGo, a privacy search engine, took nearly 6 years for it to get meaningful traction, simply because demand for privacy search engines wasn't there until the mid 2010s. Therefore, in order to a startup's life, making survival for a startup is simply like an art. You need to juggle a lot of things, but there is no simple formula for which works for every startup. You need to try as many channels as possible and survive long enough so that that kind of demand generates. For those who wish to gain meaningful insight into the startup life, as well as how to overcome many of the problems that startups face and how to really get off the ground, I cannot recommend this book enough. Thank you for listening to this talk.